Hi guys, welcome back or welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Ivy. I hope you guys have had an amazing week. If not, hang in there. Hang in there. I send a prayer to each and every single individual who is having some problems or is suffering through a couple of things. I really pray that God gets you through it. So yeah. Anyway, last week in the previous episode, we were able to delve into leveling up. So if you haven't checked out that video, I highly recommend you just go back and check it out. So we talked on the importance of growing as a Christian, especially in your spiritual walk. So today we are going to talk about something that meshes together with leveling up, which is rest. So let's do this. So today we're just going to delve right into the anchor verse because I want us to read it first and then we can be able to have a discussion going forward. So I have my Bible with me and I'm just going to go to the anchor verse, which is in Genesis. We're reading from the book of Genesis, chapter 2, verse 2 and 3. And it says, "By the seventh day, God had finished the work he had been doing. So on the seventh day, he rested from all his work. Then God blessed the seventh day and made it holy, because on it he rested from all the work of creating that he had done." So but anyway, so this verse comes right after God was done creating the universe. He took 6 days, 5 creating nature and the animals, and then on the sixth day he created man. So now on the seventh day he looks through his creation. He's very satisfied. Well, he was satisfied each day with the work that he had done, but now he gets to the seventh day and he rests from his work. One thing I can maybe attest is that God does not necessarily require to rest like we do, like the tiresomeness and everything, but human beings are so tiresome, but nonetheless, so him resting was for us to be able to also replicate what he did. In every single way that God calls us to live our lives, he has already set an example for us to follow. So he's not seated on his throne looking at us and commanding us to do that which he hasn't done himself. So with that being said, let's talk rest. This episode is more so for me than it is for you. Let's say it's for all of us. But let's take a moment. Let's take a moment. All the firstborn girls, come to the front. Come to the front. We need to have a discussion. We need to have a discussion because tell me how we strive for perfectionism and yet we are flawed individuals. Tell me how it had been placed on us a burden of continuously being the best all the time, regardless of the situation, regardless of the circumstances, regardless of everything. And the unfortunate part is it was instilled in us from such a young age. Then now you come into relationship with God and he is talking to you about rest and you cannot understand, make it make sense. What do you mean rest? We're not supposed to be resting. We're supposed to be working all the time. We're supposed to be proving our worth. We're supposed to be, you know, going at it, because if I don't go at it, then how are people going to see how good I am? if I'm not going at it, how are people going to see how worth it I am? Like, my work speaks for me, like, what do you mean? What do you mean I'm supposed to just chill? What do you mean? One whole day you don't want me to do anything, but I'm going to lag behind, but I'm going, my girlies, you especially, and the firstborn boys as well. Let's not exclude any firstborns because it's tough, it's tough. I am a firstborn of four, um, and the pressure to continuously um, perform caused me to um, lean more into perfectionism, lean more into overworking, lean more into having stress as my normal occurrence, right? Because you have to be the one who steers the way for your siblings. Like, telling anyone that I was tired, telling anyone that I was having a burnout, like, what does that even mean? What does that even mean? You know, um, I remember having a conversation with a family member, and I told them after years of keeping it hidden that I was facing a depressive episode that did not feel like an episode because it felt like months of just lows, like continuously feeling low all the time. So, the first thing that this individual told me was, I, what do you mean? That's not even a thing. That's not even a thing. What you do, make sure to ukunywe maji, ukunywe painkillers, labda unaumwa na kichwa, and then you just go rest. Like, you'll be fine. Unajua kwanza sahi, you are taking so much time. You're supposed to be going to work the next day, and I've never felt that disappointed. Because I was like, yo, what do you mean? Like, don't you understand what I'm trying to tell you? Like, what do you mean? What are you actually trying to tell me? You know? But yeah, that is how that conversation went. And from then on, I was like, it was more subconscious than it was conscious. The decision of, I will never involve you in my emotions or my feelings ever again. You don't even have to worry about it. Like, so it caused me to really shut down, and I just had to go to work for the sake of going to work. And it continued and continued and continued, and slowly but surely it started showing in my performance because my mind was tired, bro. But you just keep going and going and going. Your whole body is telling you to chill, like, bro, slow down. But then that has never been part of your vocabulary, as a firstborn child in an African home. There's no slowing down. As a matter of fact, you're required to be elevating, you're required to be moving up, you know. So it brought about a lot of confusion in my mind because I'm like, what is actually happening? How is it that I am dealing with this? I've never dealt with this before. But then the pause came in when I was like, you've actually dealt with this before, but you have always acted out. Like, you've been angry, you've been fighting, you know, you've been just spiraling out of control at some different points in your life, but you are never that keen to find out why are you actually behaving or acting the way you are. So now this period that I am having where I am really slowing down because my mind is tired, my body is tired, I do not have an outlet. I'm working every single day. And then I got into another job where now I was required to work on Saturday. Bro, that was, oh my god, that was my tipping point. Because I'm like, bro, like, I'm working all the time. And then it gets to Sunday, there's so much anxiety because you're like, I'm getting back into the system. I'm getting like the corporate system. I have not even rested, you know. And then you have to like do some chores here and there because you've been busy like from Monday to Saturday, and it's just so unhealthy at that point. So for the longest time, rest for me has was and still is um a very strange concept, but I'm still learning how to navigate the whole idea of resting, the whole idea of chilling, the whole idea of taking it one day at a time, right? So once I could not be able to take it any longer, there was a pause I decided to make for myself. Everyone around me, not really everyone, my parents more so, and some of my siblings started seriously panicking because they're like, what do you mean? What do you mean? You're slowing down. What do you mean? You're letting go of this such an amazing opportunity. What do you mean? What do you mean? But the burnout was so real. And I'm like, bro, you're not about to like kill myself. It's not that deep. But that is the phrase I go by. It's not that deep. You know? So now, in the moment of me slowing down and intentionally taking one day at a time, I really started having a conversation with God about it. Because I was like, I have this thing that I have been dealing with by myself, and I have been trying to navigate on my own. But then I'm not able to, I'm not able to. I've gotten to the end of myself with regard to this particular situation. Like, what am I supposed to do? How do I go about this? How do I deal with this situation? And um, for the first time in a very, very, very long time, I actually slept well that night. Like, nililala kama mtoi. Though you like just get into bed and you are gone. Me, for the people who usually sleep like that, especially my sister, people who sleep like that should be investigated. Because what do you mean? Your head hits the pillow and you're gone. Like, you don't have thoughts, like, disturbing your mind. Like, you're that peaceful. You do not care about the night discussions. You're gone. Like, what do you mean? And then there's me tossing and turning for up to 1 hour, 2 hours. Like, I just look at my sister sleeping, and I just usually feel like I could slap her. Because it's like, how? How are you that peaceful? And then Mimi, I'm still struggling to like, because the thoughts that you're currently having at that time are very, some of them are stupid, some of them are worrisome, some of them are crazy because it's like, what are you doing? Like, what are you even saying? Creating scenarios that will never happen. Um Recapping arguments that you had in the morning, and then now you have fire comebacks. You're like, I should have dealt with it like this. I should have, you know. And it's like, bro, like, that is not going to that discussion is not going to be had at any time, so just drop it, right? So rest for me personally, and I feel for many firstborn girls. I don't know about boys. I don't know their experience. So any firstborn boy, niangushie like conversation hapo kwa comment section. Like, let me know that the pain has been distributed evenly to all the like all eldest children regardless of their gender, because yo, it has been a hassle. But I would never want to be a middleborn or a lastborn. Being a firstborn just suits me. Like, I mean, look at me. Like, I'm not saying that I would ever want to be another individual, like another born, like first, the third, second, kwenda chini, But I feel like doing this video will be able to speak to every individual who is still holding their breath, who feels like when they let go of whatever it is they're going through, everything might crumble. Let it crumble. If it's supposed to crumble, let it crumble. I'm telling you for a fact. Because your mental health matters way more than sitting and looking pretty when you're actually not okay. And this is also for the boys, sitting and looking chill. Let it crumble. Allow yourself to heal from the trauma of perfectionism, to heal from the trauma of always being looked up to. Like, you're not the only role model, you know. And for us who have never had anyone to look up to Christ. Because once I started having that conversation with God, which did not end in just one sitting, it was like continuous. Every time worry started like tormenting my mind, I continuously reminded myself that I can actually have a conversation with my king and have him invited into that session. So there's a verse in Matthew, but I'm definitely going to link it up as you kama kawaida, these things. There's a verse in Matthew, it's a couple of verses rather, that speaks on not worrying about tomorrow, not worrying about what you eat or what you will wear, because is the body more than food, or is no is life more than eating, or the body more than the clothes you wear. And then Christ goes further to talk about how he clothes, like the Lord clothes the lilies, and there is nothing that can compare to the beauty of flowers, regardless of how beautifully you dress yourself. He dresses them, he cares for the birds in the sky, like every single creature except us human beings, who are supposed to have the highest form of development, are just live, man. Um, there's this I stumbled upon this babe on TikTok. I'll definitely also have her TikTok up here. She's called Parley. This babe spits facts. What do you mean? Especially when it comes to breaking free from your past trauma, breaking free from your generational um, chains, breaking free from how people have modeled you to be. Like you live boxed in based on how other people perceive you, and you never give yourself a chance to live according to how, in this case, God has called you to be. Because I will tell you how you want to live, and I'm so sure that would be lovely. But imagine for a second actually living how Christ wants you to live. Now that is the life. What do you mean? So let's lean more on like the way that Christ wants you to live, right? So she speaks so much facts and they resonate with me, and I have really loved interacting with her content, and it has really opened up my eyes to a lot of things, because when it comes to you choosing to create your own narrative, the people who benefit from um, your complacency, your mediocrity, start panicking because now you're evolving into something they have never expected or anticipated. And now they have to either level up or leave. And most of the times it's leave, because leveling up requires a lot of work. And most people do not take the route of leveling up. In the same breath, leveling up requires rest, you know, because you can't be grinding 24 hours all day, every day. Like, my friend, shut your mouth, man. Like, what does that even mean? You're not a machine. You're not a machine. And even machines require to be paused kidogo, iongezewe mafuta. Do all machines require? Kuna za kuongezewa mafuta, kuna za kuchajiwa. Like a simple example, your phone does not operate 24 hours. It requires like some bit of time within the day to be charged so that it gets to 100, and then now it's able to undertake its functions. In the same way, you wake up at whatever time you wake up, you grind all through, and then you still want to be the night hero, you know and then you still think that when you wake up in the morning you're going to be fine. Like, is it crack? Are you mental? Like, what do you mean? Like, let's just be serious for like a minute. If the creator of the universe decided that rest is important, who do you think you are to think that you can eradicate rest? Because I had I had someone saying, sleeping is an illusion. Huh? Huh? Make it make sense to me, because it doesn't me to compare. When I wake up in the morning, I usually look at my bed with balancing tears, and I'm like, I'm going to come back to you, my baby. Just give me a couple of hours. I will be back for you. I will be back. We will be reunited. So then, what is this illusion? There's nothing for me these days, as much as sometimes it's difficult to get sleep. There's nothing as exciting as just knowing that you've had your bath, you know, you've drunk your water, you've had your poop of the day. If you poop in the evening or you poop in the morning, whatever it is, like, you're light, and now it's time for bed. Where is the illusion? Where is the illusion? You know, you know. Hiya. So, I'm looking through my notes so that I don't miss out on anything. So, I was writing in my notes here, and I was talking about the 10 Commandments. Rest is so important. It is even included in the 10 Commandments, found in Exodus, which I will definitely have it here, and also reiterated in Deuteronomy. So, just for a bit of context, in Exodus, we see Moses getting chosen by God to be able to get the Israelites out of slavery, right? So, what had happened, just a backstory to like give you context on how they found themselves in Egypt. Joseph was the firstborn son of what was the Rachel. Yes, was the firstborn son of Rachel, and then because he was the firstborn son of the wife that Jacob loved, he favored him more than the other children. So there was a level of jealousy, happening there. So he even got a special coat from his dad, which was not something that the other sons also had. So the jealousy got even worse. Let me pause there and talk about this. For those parents who openly favor one child to the other, you are creating a dangerous environment, because jealousy is crazy. And why would you like mfavor kwa roho? If you want to favor a child to the others, mfavor kwa roho. And if you decide to favor a child against the others, who's going to favor these others? Like, a parent's love is different compared to every other, because it's the first love you get to experience. And now you get into contact with this parent of yours, and you find out that they don't even like you as much. Like, that's messed up. And that was messed up for Jacob to do. But anyway, he even got this quote, right? And God used to speak to him through dreams. So there's this one specific dream. There were actually two, where he's shown that he is on a higher place, and then his brothers and his father and mother bow down to him. So can we say stepmother? Because by the time Benjamin was born, Rachel passed away during childbirth, so Leah was the only one remaining. So his mother and father, oh, his sorry, his father and mother, right, would bow down to him. And because of the favoritism that he was experiencing from his dad, he ended up having a boastful kind of nature and character. So, other than being quiet about what God had placed within him, he decided to tell his brothers, you guys will bow down to me. I saw the dream, da da da. That was the tipping point. You see the way, like, just something like an example for the geographers. You see the way the plates usually grind against each other, and then at the last point when they are grinding, like, it can happen for thousands of years, right? So they grind against each other, pressure is, being stored up, and then when it gets to, like, the last grinding, which no one ever knows, it brings about such a big thing, such a big thing. Like, maybe they can how do I put this? I'll let me do this. I'll put a diagram up here. This is a learning lesson for all subjects. I'm saying, in the last EP we did English. Today we're doing geography. Yay, school. I guess, yeah, yay, learning. It's cool to learn. It's cool to learn. So yeah, so I'll have a picture inserted here to show the different ways that would result in the pressure of the that is built up by the tectonic plates continuously brushing against each other. They can either go this way, then there's a valley that's formed, or go like this way, and then there is like a sort of mountain or plateau that is formed. But I'll have those diagrams here. It's really cool. Like, geography is a whole vibe, because it's what actually happens on the earth. So nonetheless, that's what happened to Joseph. And the brothers. So they were like, see, as we're done. So initially they had wanted to kill him, but then Reuben, I think Reuben was the firstborn. I'll confirm. No. I think it was Simeon. Yes. I'm 90% sure that was Simeon who told them, "Nah, let's not kill him. Let's trade him, rather." Like the compassion within him is like, he's still our brother technically at the end of the day, so we don't necessarily have to make these drastic measures. So he got sold, and then he went to he was traded a couple of times and then ended up in Egypt. So various events happen, and there's hunger in Israel. Yeah, no, there's hunger where Jacob and his sons were, so they had to go to Egypt because Egypt was the only place that had stored up food because of um God working through Joseph so that he would be able to ensure that um, food was enough in that country, right? So that speaks on God using you in whatever environment that you are in. So the idea is to always ask God for direction regardless of the environment or the situation. I don't know if you guys remember the last time I talked about conditioned mindset versus refined mindset. The refined mindset does not focus on the situation, but you focus on your reaction to the situation, right? So the people had to come, and when they did come, Joseph revealed himself to them eventually, and he had his whole family come to Egypt. So now the ruler that was there loved them and gave them a portion of land where they would reside. And then a new ruler, like, he died, and then a new ruler came into play, and he just decided that these guys are getting numerous. They might decide to overthrow us. Nini, let's enslave them. So that's how they became slaves. So now Moses is chosen to take the Israelites out of Egypt. So there is this way that an individual is once they stay in a particular place for a very long period of time, and it's never like it's very difficult to move this individual from this specific place to this other place. A change of environment is beautiful, but the mindset is everything, because there's this famous saying, the Israelites were removed from Egypt physically, but their minds were still in Egypt. You can remove the man from Egypt, but not Egypt from the man. Yeah. So the Ten Commandments came into play when God decided to um, show them, this is how I want you to live. So in the Ten Commandments, I think let me confirm. You can just confirm right now so that I make sure that we are talking about the right commandment. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. The fifth commandment is keeping the Sabbath, and it's all the way. It's in Exodus 28 to 11, and then it's also in Deuteronomy 5:12 to 15. Of all the commandments, this is the longest, because it speaks on the importance of Sabbath and why it's supposed to be upheld, to show that we have been designed in a way that we are required to rest. We have been designed in a way that we are required to slow down for a minute and then continue. If God knew that we did not require to rest, why did he create day and night? This kind of mindset ya, unajua lazima tutafute hii pesa, lazima tu, we have to chase this money. How are you chasing a servant? Money is a servant. It's supposed to be serving you, you know. That's where madness happens. That's where people end up doing some very crazy things, all for the sake of getting money. Like, good luck to you if you want to come to the end of your life and find out that it was all in vain. It was such nonsense, you know. So I feel like it's important, even on a day-to-day basis, other than the like keeping um the Sabbath as a day of resting and getting into conversation with God. On a day-to-day basis, ensure that you have at least 6 to 8 hours of rest. 6 to 8, tuseme tu hivyo, because ukianza kuingia 10 hours, unajua 9 10 hours ni za watoi because they are growing and stuff like that. But sasa sisi adults, 6 to 8 hours, try and just get enough rest but within that time, so that like when you're waking up in the morning to deal with what you need to deal with, you're fresh, you're ready, like, you know, you're not looking scary, you know. And then to mask it for the girlies, you're now doing heavy makeup so that you look fresh, but now you just look like a hot mess, you know. Like, rest is essential on a daily basis. Just sleeping, you know, sleep just the right amount of hours, 6 to 8 hours. It's not bad, you know. And then for that one day of the week, you know, I know that you have a desire for money, you know, which is very dangerous and detrimental to your health. But since you're there, you know, just allow yourself to have just one day of the week where you do nothing. And that doesn't mean ati sasa sahi ndio time ya kubinge. Na farm. Use that time, that opportunity, to be able to have a conversation with your creator. Like, go on walks, go to church, you know, for those who go to church. But then we're going to talk about like the church vibe later on. But yeah, I won't forget. Um Hang out with people, have Bible studies, you know. So the idea is to rest in Christ, you know. And it's also something very new to me, because it's like, what do you mean rest in Christ? But that would look like having an intentional day with God, having the urge to sleep all day or binge whatever you want to binge, or you know, go out for drinks with pals. Just have that day where, because all these are things you have done and have been able to do for this amount of time. So on this one day, why not just give it to God? And actually it would be best to ask him, how do you want me to spend this day, you know. He might ask you to go and be charitable to the people in your community. He might ask you to just, excuse me, read the Bible. He might ask you to just listen to worship music. He might ask you to journal. He might ask you to plan for the day. Like, whatever it is, make it an intentional day with God, you know, resting in him. There's a couple of verses in Hebrews, I'll definitely insert it, that speak on God inviting us into his rest, you know, inviting us into his rest. So today, it reiterates Psalms, which says, so today, when you hear his voice, do not harden your heart. When he instructs you that this day I have set aside so that me and you can be able to have this conversation, this communication, it's very important for you to go to him and to also allow him to just walk through you during that day. there's a level of refreshment that happens when you're very intentional with the Sabbath, that definitely the enemy does not want you to unlock, for lack of a better word. And it's very important to ensure that that one day each week, because umeshamalza kuhustle for the week, you know, that one day of the week you actually just have that conversation with God. Talk to him about how the week has gone. Talk to him how about the expectations you have for the next week, if he wills for you to see the next week. Talk to him about the plans you have. Talk to him about maybe the trips you're about to go to. Talk to him about everything so that you involve him into the week. You know, I was talking about a verse where Jesus was also speaking on the Sabbath. It's in the book of Mark, and he says that was not Sabbath made for man, and not man for the Sabbath. So basically, what that means is when God set aside that one day, he intended it to be for our benefit, you know. In the olden days, what the Pharisees used to do was to make you just nikama, like nikama umepose, like you're not doing anything, you just pause, and then you wait until tomorrow. At you can't help people, you can't sijui juggle, you can't, you know, those crazy extra burdens that we talked about. But then Jesus was like, the Sabbath is intended, the Sabbath was created for man, you know, and man was not created for the Sabbath, ati, so that you can be able to make the how do I put this? It was made for us to rest in Christ, you know, because God will call you to do some activities, you know. The Sabbath is not doing nothing, it's like setting aside your day-to-day activities that bring about an income so that you can be able to focus on what God is telling you to do. That's basically Sabbath, right? So then I would close this video in this way. Most people are afraid of resting because they think that it's a waste of time. And that has been my mindset for a very long time. And God is slowly working on it and working on me, right? To see the gravity and the importance of resting. It is not a waste of time, it's a way of rejuvenating yourself for the next task that he has ahead for you. Because if you're tired, you're not really doing the task that he has given you like 100%. And he has given you the provision of a restful period, a restful night within the 6 days, and a restful whole day where you just commune with him and just have that interaction and relationship with him. You know, just a pause before getting into the next week, right? Let me see. Yes. So the last verse I want to talk about is the fruit of the Holy Spirit. Among the fruit is peace, right? It's in Galatians, it's peace. So when we speak about peace, peace basically is the relaxation. Would I say relaxation? It's just a chill vibe that you can only get from God, you know. And this is what happens when we sleep having done the best that God has allowed us to do, and then also giving him that day to just rejuvenate you, remind you, even give you ideas on how to deal with the week. Unaweza kuwa umeamua ati Sunday pia ni siku ya mboka na labda utaona next week, you know, like you keep planning, like the man who was saying, now I've been working, now I can rest, I can't do what? And then he was informed, bro, you're not even going to eat the fruit of your labor. Tonight, you're going to die. You know, resting slows you down, allows you to see how beautiful life is, allows you to how to release that strained breath that you have been holding for such a long time. You know, and it's so important to incorporate it into our day-to-day lives. So, with that being said, I hope that this is going to encourage you to rest more, is going to encourage you to chill, it's going to encourage you to grow into a stronger and better relationship with God. Nonetheless, drink your water. um, sleep, sleep, fam, sleep. Like, I can't stress this enough. You need to sleep. You look a mess. You need to sleep. And on that day, just give it to God. Give it to God and see the change that is going to happen in your life. Nonetheless, I pray that you guys have a blessed week, and thank you for listening in up until the end. Yeah, bye, guys.